Hi everyone, my name is Sohail Alam and I'm going to present to you individual CAFR analysis for the state of South Carolina. Uh, this is so the content breakdown is part 1, basic information of the comprehensive annual financial report CAFR. Part 2 is having preliminary analysis of the state of South Carolina CAFR. Part 3 is having additional analysis of the CAFR. Part 1, Introduction. Was the entity's annual report of the previous year awarded a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting by the Government Finance Officers Association? What is this award for? Yes, they received the certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020. On order of the state of South Carolina to have received this award, the report must be easy, organized, and follow GAAP and all other legal requirements. This is the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting presented to State of South Carolina for its comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year June 30th and it is signed by the Executive Director and CEO. What are the key issues addressed in the letter of transmittal? Profile of government, 30,000 square miles, ranked 23rd in population, 6th fastest state in population growth. State economy, diverse economy, business taking advantage of state incentives and other facilities. Long-term financial planning, agencies to provide projected general fund expenditures for the next 3 years. State assessing future financial commitments. Relevant financial policies. Maintain general reserve fund to 5% of total general fund revenue. Annual fund 2% capital reserve to be used for capital improvement, debt retirement or other non-recurring purpose. Suspend budgetary surplus. Major initiatives. Fund programs related to job creation, economic development set aside fund, steady growth in job creation due to capital investment by manufacturers. South Carolina growing economic environment, expanded economic opportunities, growth in manufacturing, companies invested and expanding, aerospace task force to position state growth, record high export. Which, if any, independent audit firm performed an audit of the CAFR? Yes, there are. The state of South Carolina financial statements was independently audited by Clifton Larson Allen LLP. Did the entity receive an unqualified audit opinion? If not, why not? Yes, the entity received unqualified audit opinion because the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all materials respect and the respective financial position of the government activities, the business type activities, the aggregate discretely presented component units, each major fund and the aggregate remaining fund information of the state as of June 30th, 2020, and the respective changes in financial position and, where applicable, cash flows thereof for the year then ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. What is the population of the entity being reported on? The population of state of South Carolina for 2020 was 5.15 million. What type of information are included in the statistical section? The statistical section included a lot of information about the state, including net position by components, changes in net position, fund balances, changes in fund balances, personal income by industry, taxable sales by industry, percent distribution of taxable sales by industry, personal income tax rates, personal income tax filers and liability by income level, ratios of outstanding debt by type, ratios of general bonded debt outstanding, computation of legal debt margin information, pledged revenue coverage, demographic statistics, employment by industry, 10 largest employers, government employees by function, operating indicators by function, capital assets by function. Part 2, Preliminary Analysis. Total assets is 68 billion, which has the total primary government and the component units, which is making the total assets. Total deferred outflow of resources. The number has come up from total primary government and component unit, which is highlighted in this page, and it is come up with $3.3 billion. Total liabilities. It consists of total primary government and total and component unit, which is making 40 billion in liabilities. Total deferred inflow of resources. Okay, it is the combination of total primary government plus component unit, which is highlighted in this page, and the sum is come $1.7 billion. Total net position, which is the combination of total primary government and component units, which is highlighted in this document, and the total comes as $29 billion. Then we have unrestricted net position, which is the combination of total primary government and component unit, which is coming up in negative $9.2 billion. Then we have restricted net position, which is coming up $15 billion. Is total net position a deficit or positive? Explain to the office what does a deficit positive net position mean. The total net position is positive. A positive net position means that assets and deferred outflow of resources are greater than liabilities and deferred outflow of resources. In addition, it means taxpayers have generally funded the costs of services received to date. Total expenses. Total expenses is a combination of total primary government plus total component units expenses. It is coming $41.9 billion. Calculate primary government revenue. Primary government revenue is the combination of charges for services and operating grants and contributions, capital grants and contribution. All three comes up with the total of $17.5 billion. Calculate component unit revenue. It is a combination of charges for services plus operating grants and contributions plus capital grants and contributions. So the total component unit is $12.5 billion. Calculate total general revenue. So it is a combination of total primary government plus component unit. So the total is coming $15.2 billion. Calculate change in net position. Change in net position. It is the combination of total primary government plus component unit. So the total is coming $2.4 billion. Part 3. Additional analysis of the CAFR. Financial position, unrestricted net assets divided by expenses. So the financial position ratio is coming negative 0.22. And it is calculated from a negative financial ratio. We can conclude that the state of South Carolina has a negative unrestricted net asset resources available towards financial cost. Normally, the lower of the number, the worse off the state financial position is. Since the financial position is negative, this means that the taxpayers are not efficiently managing the unrestricted net resources, and so if a budgetary issue were to arise, the state would come into some problems. These are the highlighted numbers through which this calculation is done to get the financial position for unrestricted net assets divided by expenses. Liquidity minus cash plus current investment plus receivables divided by current liabilities. We use this to calculate liquidity ratio, which is 3.11. From this we can determine that the state of South Carolina is in a good liquid position to sell any asset quickly if cash is needed, and the state can pay its short-term debt. The higher the ratio, the better the state liquidity position is, although the ideal ratio is 1:1, 1 to 1. Liquidity ratio, these are the highlighted numbers which are used to calculate the liquidity ratio. Financial performance. Financial performance ratio is calculated by change in net assets divided by total net assets. So the financial performance ratio is 0.08. This is stating that the financial position calculation of the state of South Carolina remained steady over the past year. The financial performance lets the reader know how much of the change in net assets affected the current net assets. When it comes to financial performance, a negative ratio doesn't exactly mean it is bad. Similarly, a positive ratio doesn't exactly mean it is good. Financial performance ratio, it shows the highlighted numbers, the way it is calculated. Solvency ratio. Solvency ratio is calculated by using long-term debt divided by assets. So the solvency ratio is 44.91. From this number we can conclude that the state of South Carolina is able to pay its long-term debts and there were enough resources to cover interest expense. A positive number is good when it comes to solvency, as a negative number would mean that the state would not be able to pay its long-term debts. Conclusion. After going through the foregoing analysis, the state of South Carolina has a healthy financial status even after considering the financial ratios that were slightly down from the previous year. Thank you very much.